Am I Celt-washing Irish mythology, or am I Irish-washing Celtic mythology? I've been accused of both. My plea in both cases? Not guilty. The underlying issue here is this. Celtic is a complicated term. As far back as the 5th century BCE, classical writers were referring to the inhabitants of Gaul as Celts, or Keltoi. And for a long time, Celtic and Gaulish, or Gallic, were effectively synonyms. But beginning around the 17th century CE, Celtic took on a new linguistic connotation, as scholars discovered that the language spoken by the ancient Gauls had a lot in common with the languages of other ancient peoples, including the Britons of Wales, Cornwall, and Brittany, and the Goidels or Gaels of Ireland, Scotland, and the Isle of Man. Thus, the existence of a Proto-Celtic language was proposed, from which Gaulish, Welsh, Cornish, Breton, Irish, Scots-Gaelic, and Manx were all descended. A Celtic revival soon followed as more and more people began taking an interest in their newfound Celtic heritage. This is the history that has led some folks to declare Celtic is a made-up term. It's a made-up people, and using Celtic to refer to the stories of the ancient Irish is akin to Celt-washing Irish mythology. To which I'd counter, all terms were made up at some point. Take animals, for example. It's a made-up group of organisms. And if you feel yourself getting ready to say, yeah, but we classified certain organisms as animals based on their shared characteristics, that's exactly how certain languages, including Irish, came to be classified as Celtic. And erasing the term Celtic wouldn't erase those linguistic connections that led scholars to classify Irish as such. All that being said, an important clarification is in order. While Ireland's inhabitants were all Celtic speakers by the time St. Patrick showed up in the 5th century, humans have been on the island that would become known as Ireland since the Stone Age. Proto-Celtic, meanwhile, wouldn't emerge until the Iron Age. So you know all of those awesome megalithic structures scattered across Ireland? Most of those were built thousands of years before the arrival of the Celtic language. And yet Irish mythology is full of references to them. Neolithic dolmens, cairns, and tumuli became the homes of the Irish gods and portals to the other world, or other worlds, as it were. So while Irish deities do appear to have cognates in Welsh mythology and Gaulish mythology, which makes sense given that the Irish, Welsh, and Gaulish languages were all descended from a common linguistic ancestor, Irish mythology is still distinctly Irish. And the Gaelic/Goidelic Celtic speakers of Ireland would spread that mythology to Scotland and the Isle of Man, hence it's also appropriate to use the term Gaelic mythology to refer to this tradition as it spread beyond Ireland. But at least one commenter was none too happy that I chose to highlight Irish mythology in my latest video on Irish mythology in pop culture. Their argument being that I was Irish-washing Celtic mythology and that Irish mythology is really just localized Gaulish mythology. To which I'd counter, go grab me a book of Gaulish myths and show me the similarities to the Irish myths. But you can't. Know why? Because apart from ancient shrines and inscriptions, which is how we know about Gaulish deities like Cernunnos, who doesn't have an obvious counterpart in Irish mythology, I might add, the myths of the ancient Gauls weren't preserved, at least not in the same way as the Welsh and Irish myths were preserved courtesy of Christian scribes. Did those scribes do a good job? That's a subject for another rant. But to close this case, and to hopefully clear my name of any wrongdoing, let me state for the record that I'm not trying to wash anything with my Irish mythology videos. I am intentionally keeping things dirty, because that's the reality. It's a nuanced subject. Yes, there is some connective tissue between Irish, Welsh, and Gaulish mythology, just as there is some connective tissue between ancient Irish, Welsh, and Gaulish culture, the presence of a druid class being a prime example. Celtic is the umbrella term we can apply to those shared characteristics. Irish is the narrower term we can apply to the culture and mythology of Ireland, specifically. And as always, I Kneverday is what you can call me. I'm the editor of the Celtic fantasy short story anthology, Neon Druid, and the creator of IrishMyths.com. Thanks for coming out.